I decided to start small. That afternoon, Hendricks and Coleman parked outside a convenience store, sipping sodas and bragging about how they put another thug in cuffs. I crept behind the patrol car, opened the driver's door, and quietly rolled it down the block. They didn't notice until they turned and saw the empty parking spot. "Where the hell's the car? You didn't put it in park, idiot! You accusing me?" I parked the cruiser 3 streets away, right in front of the mayor's house, sirens blaring. Half the neighborhood laughed. The 2 idiots got called in for misplacement of department property. That night, I grinned so hard my cheeks hurt. The next day, I upped the game. Slipped sleeping pills into their energy drinks while they were eating at a diner. By the time they got back into the patrol car, both were snoring like bears. I drove their cruiser, yes, while invisible, straight to the town square, parked it under the Confederate statue. My name's Marcus Reed, and I've lived in the same small southern town my whole life, long enough to see how rotten it can be when power wears a badge and hate hides behind a smile. I'm a mechanic by trade, father to no one but uncle to many, and in my 38 years on this earth, I've watched more injustice than any man should. But none of it, not the news stories, not the whispers, not even the quiet threats, prepared me for the 2 devils who called themselves officers, Hendricks and Coleman. They wore the same blue uniform as every other cop in our state, but their hearts were tar. They didn't patrol the neighborhood to keep peace. They came to hunt, and everyone who looked like me was fair game. I first saw their true colors one sticky evening in July. It was late, the kind of night when the streetlights buzz louder than the crickets. My friend Jerome, a 17-year-old black kid born deaf, was walking home from the corner store. He had headphones on. Not that he could hear the music, but he liked the vibration on his skull. I was outside my shop closing up when the flashing red and blue lights rolled up beside him. "Hey, you! Stop right there!" Jerome didn't even flinch. He just kept walking, head tilted down, probably thinking they were yelling at someone else. "Boy, you hear me talking to you? Hands up!" Jerome turned, confused, pointing at his ear, shaking his head. "Oh, playing smart, huh? Think we stupid?" They slammed him against the hood before I could even shout. Jerome tried to sign, but Hendricks punched him in the ribs while Coleman twisted his arm like a rag. "Hey, he's deaf. He can't hear you." They didn't stop. They tased him till his body shook, then cuffed him and laughed while he cried silently. Later, they wrote in the report that he resisted arrest. He didn't even make eye contact, just stared at the ground through swollen eyes when I tried to comfort him the next day. I knew what shame looked like. That was the first time I felt hate burn so deep I could taste it. But it wasn't the last. A few months later, they came for my neighbor, Mr. Thompson. Man was in a wheelchair, paralyzed from the waist down after a construction accident. They stopped him for blocking the sidewalk while he was trying to cross the street. "You got a permit for that motorized chair, old man?" "It's a wheelchair, sir. Don't get smart. You people always got something to say." Then Hendricks tipped his chair over, just like that, laughed while the man hit the pavement, groceries rolling into the gutter. "You crazy bastards! He's disabled!" Coleman raised his gun at me. "Keep talking, mechanic. You'll join him." We tried reporting them. Every witness on the block did, but complaints vanished like smoke. No body cam footage, no dash cam evidence. "Insufficient proof," they said. The world spun on, and Hendricks and Coleman kept their badges. The final straw broke the night we buried my brother. His name was Eli, my little brother, born an albino with skin like milk and eyes that couldn't stand sunlight. He was the kindest man I ever knew, and life never treated him fair. When he died of complications from kidney failure, the whole community came to pay respect. We had a convoy of cars, white ribbons on the antennas, heading toward the cemetery. But halfway there, the same 2 devils blocked the road. Hendricks leaned against the patrol car, chewing gum like he owned the air. "Y'all having a parade? Didn't know ghost season came early." Coleman pointed to the picture of Eli taped on one of the cars. "Damn, he looks like Casper. That your brother? Must have been hard finding him at night." The laughter that followed was like glass shattering in my chest. Then they demanded a convoy permit and a funeral clearance fee. We begged them to let us pass, coffin in the hearse, mourners crying, but they held us for 40 minutes in the sun while making jokes about my brother's skin. When we finally reached the cemetery, the flowers had wilted. That was the day I stopped praying for justice. That was the day I decided to make it myself. A week later, still burning inside, I was walking home from work when I saw something shining near the old railroad tracks. A ring, half buried in dust. Looked like brass, maybe copper, with strange carvings that looked African, or maybe Arabic. I picked it up, wiped it clean, and slipped it on my finger. The second I did, the air around me shifted, like static before a storm. I looked down at my hand, and it was gone. What the hell? I waved, blinked, rubbed my eyes. Nothing. My arm had vanished. I dropped the ring, and suddenly I was visible again. I stood there in disbelief, staring at that little piece of metal like it held God's secret. So I tried again. Ring on, gone. Ring off, there. Ring on, gone. Nobody walking by looked at me. One guy even brushed my shoulder and didn't react. I wasn't dreaming. I was invisible. That night, I barely slept. My mind raced with possibilities. Fear, excitement, a spark of madness maybe. But one thought kept echoing louder than all others. What if justice finally had no face? The next morning, I tested it, slipped the ring on and stepped outside, and I realized my neighbor walked past me and didn't even notice me. I decided to start small. That afternoon, Hendricks and Coleman parked outside a convenience store, sipping sodas and bragging about how they put another thug in cuffs. I crept behind the patrol car, opened the driver's door, and quietly rolled it down the block. They didn't notice until they turned and saw the empty parking spot. "Where the hell's the car? You didn't put it in park, idiot! You accusing me?" I parked the cruiser 3 streets away, right in front of the mayor's house, sirens blaring. Half the neighborhood laughed. The 2 idiots got called in for misplacement of department property. That night, I grinned so hard my cheeks hurt. The next day, I upped the game. Slipped sleeping pills into their energy drinks while they were eating at a diner. By the time they got back into the patrol car, both were snoring like bears. I drove their cruiser, yes, while invisible, straight to the town square, parked it under the Confederate statue, and left them there asleep with "Karma's Coming" spray-painted on the windshield. They woke up surrounded by reporters. "It wasn't us! Someone drugged us!" Chief didn't believe a word. They got suspended for 2 days. That gave me time to plan something better. One rainy night, I followed Hendricks home. His wife had just gone to bed. He stepped into the shower, singing some country song off-key. I sneaked in, pulled back the curtain rod slightly, and turned the electric water heater dial all the way up. Then, with a screwdriver, I loosened the wiring just enough for sparks to jump when the steam built. He screamed like a banshee when the current hit. Didn't kill him, but it fried his pride and half his hair. The next morning, the department gossip spread like wildfire. Hendricks almost electrocuted himself taking a bath. Everyone laughed. One down, one to go. Coleman was worse, crueler, sneakier. He used his badge to harass girls, pull over random drivers for attitude, and take bribes from drug dealers. So one evening, I decided to hit where it hurt. I followed him on duty, invisible, watching as he roughed up a kid for jaywalking. When he stopped to grab food, I slipped into his cruiser and copied everything from his laptop. Every illegal stop, every missing evidence report, all of it. That night, I sat at my kitchen table, typing like a man possessed. I fabricated just enough to make it look like they were part of a bigger corruption ring. Drugs, cash, trafficking. Then I used the ring again, invisible as air, and placed the USB in the chief's office drawer with an anonymous note. Truth has no color. Justice sees everything. The next morning, the station exploded with panic. Internal affairs rolled in. Hendricks and Coleman were both pulled off duty for questioning. Still, I wasn't done. I wanted them humiliated, the way they humiliated others. 3 days later, they got reinstated, pending investigation. That's when I decided to use my power for something good in between my revenge. Remember Jerome, the deaf teenager they beat up? I went to court invisible during his hearing. When the prosecutor tried to dismiss his case, I whispered, "No," shouted into her ear, right as she stood up. Check the traffic camera from 3rd Street, July 12th, 9:14 p.m. She froze, eyes wide, probably thought it was divine intervention. The footage surfaced the next day. It showed exactly what happened. Hendricks and Coleman attacking a deaf kid. Case reopened. They were suspended again. By now, they were paranoid. They started shouting at empty air, checking mirrors, blaming each other for sabotage. I'd walk into their homes invisible, move their furniture, whisper from closets, flush toilets, knock over lamps. Little things, enough to make them think they were losing their minds. "You heard that, right? Someone's here. You need therapy, man. You losing it." "I'm right here, officer." Coleman screamed, fired his gun into the wall. His wife packed her bags that night. The town thought they'd gone insane. Chief ordered psychiatric evaluations. But the grand finale came one Sunday afternoon. There was a parade downtown, local celebration, families, press, kids waving flags. And of course, Hendricks and Coleman were assigned to security duty, desperate to prove they were still reliable. I had one last plan. I waited until they parked their cruiser, slipped into the back seat, and placed a small Bluetooth speaker under the seat. Then, as they walked by the crowd, I turned it on with my phone. My voice distorted, booming through the car speakers like a ghost. "Officers Hendricks and Coleman, you've been judged." The crowd turned. Hendricks froze. Coleman fumbled with his radio. "You beat the deaf. You mocked the dead. You betrayed your badge." Everyone started recording on their phones. "It's fake! Someone's messing with us!" "You are under investigation for corruption and abuse of power. Look in your trunk." They ran to the cruiser, opened the trunk, and there, perfectly planted, were stacks of stolen drugs and fake cash I'd borrowed from evidence lockup the night before, using my invisible trick. Gasps rippled through the crowd. The chief's jaw dropped. "What the hell is this?" "It's not ours! We've been set up!" Too late. Cameras flashed. Reporters swarmed. They were handcuffed in front of everyone, the same way they once handcuffed my people. Poetic, wasn't it? Weeks passed. News spread like wildfire. Corrupt cops busted by anonymous source. Turns out Internal Affairs found enough real dirt to charge them without my planted evidence. My tweaks just sped things up. Hendricks lost his badge, divorced, moved out of town. Coleman got 5 years for tampering with evidence and assault. And me? I kept the ring. But I promised myself never to use it for evil, only for justice. Still, sometimes when I walk past the old police station, I hear whispers. People think it's haunted. Doors slam, radios turn on by themselves, coffee spills mysteriously. Let's just say, I keep them honest. One night, I sat by Eli's grave, the moon shining on the tombstone. I slipped the ring on one last time, just to see what he might say if he could. "You see that, little brother?" They got what they deserved, and for a second I swear I heard laughter in the wind, faint, kind, and free. Then I took off the ring, placed it on the grave, and left it there. Justice, after all, should never belong to just one man. A few weeks later, a kid found that same ring by the cemetery and picked it up. I saw him hold it up to the sun, grin, and slip it on. He vanished. I laughed so hard I nearly dropped my soda. Oh hell no, not again. Somebody call Marvel. We about to have the Invisible Kid sequel. Anyway, that's the story of how I became invisible long enough to make 2 racist cops pay for their sins. If you liked my little ghostly revenge tale, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe for more justice, and maybe, just maybe, check your rings before you wear them. Because next time, you might be the one haunting the guilty.